All right, let's talk about the 5 most improved NFL teams heading into the 2025-26 season. And I'm not talking about teams who made flashing signing here or added a nice rookie there. I'm talking about complete overhauls, coaching upgrades, roster building, and cultural resets. These are the squads that looked in the mirror this offseason and said, we're freaking tired of losing. So let's start it off in Chicago, because the Bears just pulled off one of the most complete offseason transformations that I've seen in years. Caleb Williams, he's no longer running for his life behind a JV offensive line. The Bears threw a ridiculous $127 million at the offensive line reinforcements. They traded for Joe Thuney, they traded for Jonah Jackson, and then signed Drew Dahlman out of Atlanta. 3 legit starters, and that's how you protect your franchise quarterback. But it wasn't just about the trenches. Their biggest offseason move was hiring Ben Johnson as a head coach. Yeah, the same guy who turned Detroit's offense into a juggernaut. And they paired him with defensive guru Dennis Allen. That's a top-tier brain trust on both sides of the ball. Johnson's creativity plus Allen's experience gives that team structure that they have lacked in decades. And on defense, Chicago also added in 2 solid starters up front. Their major signing of Dayo Ode Ingbo, and then also Grady Jarrett from Atlanta. Both those guys give them legit depth and disruption alongside Montez Sweat. So now you've got a front that can hopefully rush the passer and stop the run. And let's be real, Bears fans, when's the last time you could say that? And then you look at their draft. They went best player available, like no question. And they did it first by surprising everyone by selecting Colson Loveland at number 10 overall. Another weapon added for Williams because they didn't have enough. But then they doubled down on offense again and then selected wide receiver out of Mizzou, Luther Burden, the third, in the second round, and he brings that yak potential. But then they didn't stop there because with their second round pick, they ended up selecting Ozzie Trapillo, the 6'8 tackle who adds depth to the trenches. So this team did not just draft for needs, they drafted for greatness. Look, the bottom line is this. They went from a disjointed and chaotic to cohesive and complete. They're hoping to go from a 5-12 team to a potential dark horse. And if Caleb Williams can take even a modest leap, just a modest leap in year 2, this team is easily winning 9 to 10 games. Now, let's take a look at the Jets because they moved on from Aaron Rodgers' dream and actually built something that's, you could say, sustainable. Justin Fields is now under center, and I know people have questions, but for $40 million over 2 years, that's a calculated bet I would take every time. He's only 26, still crazy athletic, and this gives them a floor mobility that they haven't had in forever. But they didn't stop there because just like the Bears, they signed a new head coach, Aaron Glenn, from Detroit as well. And this guy brings the fire and toughness, and he's got that aggressive mindset. He'll unleash a defensive unit in ways Saleh never could figure out. Glenn coached a top 10 defense in Detroit without elite talent. Well, there were some, right? You had Hutchinson, of course, but imagine what he could do with someone like Sauce, Q Williams, and company. And on defense, they also kept linebacker Jamian Sherwood, and they signed corner Brandon Stevens to replace DJ Reed. That keeps the core intact. That keeps most of the core intact while adding in flexibility. And then when you look at the draft, they grabbed, I think, the best tackle in the draft other than Will Campbell. I kind of viewed him as a guard. But they grabbed offensive tackle Armand Membu at number 7, a plug-and-play protector who gives Fields a real chance to stay upright. So this Jets team, it's finally young, stable, and built around a dynamic QB who doesn't need to be a hero on every play. I personally think they're not just better. They're actually structured for sustained growth, something that hasn't been true in New York in decades or if forever, if we're being honest. So now let's move over out to the West in Vegas because the Raiders didn't just improve, they reinvented themselves. Pete Carroll's out of retirement and back in the NFL, and he's not coming to babysit. He's brought a winning culture, a run-first identity, and real leadership. Now you pair that with GM John Spytek, and suddenly this franchise has a little bit of direction. Their first big move, though, was trading for Geno Smith. Now, he may not be a long-term answer, but he gives them stability they've lacked for years. He's smart, efficient, and can execute Carroll's offense. That alone is worth a few extra wins. But here's the real juice. The most exciting pick in the draft, Ashton Genty, 6th overall pick that went to Vegas. This dude forced 126. Yes, 126 missed tackles last year in college, the most in FPS. And he had 1,700 yards plus after contact. Carroll hasn't had a workhorse like that since beast mode, and he's pairing him with a young O-line that's quietly developing into a strength of this team. Now, when you look on defense, Vegas also made some low-key smart moves. They signed Jeremy Chin, Landon Roberts, and Eric Stokes. These are veteran glue guys who raise the floor. And they drafted high-snap, high-experience college players like Jack Beck and Darian Porter. These guys are ready to contribute now. So this team is going from chaos to cohesion. That's the new story in Vegas. And this isn't just a feel-good story. This team could absolutely sneak into the wild card conversation. They won't win the division because they're in the AFC West with Patrick Mahomes, but they could definitely be a wild card sleeper, no doubt. If you made it this far into the video, you the real MVP, for real. I appreciate you. And if you're a diehard NFL junkie like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I drop NFL content almost daily. I'm talking breakdowns, rants, hot takes, all of that. And if you're a Bears fan like me, well, first off, I am very, very, very sorry because we have been through it. But if you want to suffer together in style, then check out my Bears podcast with my guy Dave. It's called the BFR Podcast, which is short for Bears Film Room. And it is the #1 show for the fans, by the fans, where we have weekly episodes, live shows, special guests, and most importantly, we don't sugarcoat a thing. And if you want to keep up with me, get a little laugh, or even see me smile during Bears games, then make sure to follow me on IG, TikTok, and Twitter at itsfickybaby, which is ITSFICKYBABY. All right, enough of the plug, I get it. Let's get back to the episode. Now, let's slide over to the desert because Arizona made one thing clear this offseason. We're done being soft on defense. They completely rebuilt their defensive front. Josh Sweat is reunited with Jonathan Gannon, and we know what kind of damage they did in Philly. Now you add in Calais Campbell, who's still a menace, honestly, at age 38, and Dalvin Tomlinson, and suddenly that D-line is looking kind of nasty, right? If everyone plays at their ceiling, their best potential. But they didn't stop there because they also doubled down in the draft too. Walter Nolan, in my opinion, was a steal at 16. But even a bigger steal was Will Johnson because despite the injury concerns, he was considered a top 15 talent before his knee issues. Like, the dude balled out in Michigan, obviously not last year, but the year before that, no question. So this team isn't just plugging holes. This is a foundational defense being built the right way. And if you look at their DVOA in 2023, so 2 seasons ago, they ranked dead last. But in 2024, they jumped up to 14th, which is a huge improvement. Now with these upgrades, to be honest, they might crack the top 10. Don't hold that against me, but it's definitely possible. And look, that's how you rebuild a unit with purpose. 2 years, adding the right pieces consistently over time. That's how you do it. But it's not just the defense, because on offense, like, yes, they didn't make splashy moves, but they did add Ashton Jeanty, one of the most dynamic players. But to be honest, they didn't really need to do much on offense. Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh, sorry, I said Jeanty. They did not add in Jeanty. Excuse me, I don't know why I said that. I meant to say last year they added in Marvin Harrison. Now, people would say, like, last year wasn't that great for him, but I'm expecting better quarterback play, which means that MHJ can have a better year coming into year 2. So some of his downfall last year was he struggled with contested catches as a rookie, but let's not forget, he was still commanding double teams. Even if he modestly improves his catch rate, like, this dude is a 1,200-yard guy. I still have faith, and I'm buying into the MHJ stock. So Arizona is sneaky. They're not flashy, but they might win 3 to 4 more games just off the defensive improvement alone. So do not be surprised if they flirt with 500 or better. And I know that's a low bar, but just don't be surprised. They're definitely going to win more games this year. And finally, the last team on this list was the worst team in the NFL last year, the Tennessee Titans. Man, let's talk about how a rebuild's done right. Tennessee hit rock bottom, and they did what every team should do when that happens: start fresh. Will Levis, take your mayo and get the hell out of town because they got themselves a new quarterback. And it's not just any quarterback, it's Cam Ward, the #1 overall pick out of Miami. Now, I just want to preface here a little bit just to give a little shout out to Cam Ward because his story is wild. A 0-star recruit. Nobody wanted him, and now he's the face of a franchise. That's an underdog mentality that you're going to want in your locker room. And he's not just getting thrown into the fire like Caleb Williams did in Chicago. Head coach Brian Callahan is hopefully going to build him up the right way. And I say that because Callahan has worked with Joe Burrow and Peyton Manning. I know if you heard of them, but they're pretty good quarterbacks. So he knows how to groom QBs. And his system fits Ward's strengths perfectly. Ward is a seam ripper, and Callahan called him the best he's ever seen at it. That vertical aggression is coming to Nashville. But not only that, the Titans also rebuilt the O-line, adding in Dan Moore Jr. and Kevin Zeitler out of Detroit. Now, they're not elite names, but solid vets who will give Ward a fighting chance. And that's all you can ask for in a year one of a rebuild. They're not trying to win 12 games right away, obviously, but they are building something important, slowly and intentional. And that's what makes it scary, because in like 2 or 3 years, this team could be dangerous and explode. Okay, so let me ask you this. Which of these 5 teams is making the playoffs first? Is it Caleb and the Bears? Is it the Genty-led Raiders? Or is Cam Ward going to go berserk like C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels and shock the league as a rookie? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you enjoyed this content, then make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on other NFL videos. I try to do them daily, so make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on another great one. So remember, stay sharp, stay dangerous, and I'm out. Peace.